respected ambassadors, respected guests, youth organization, young people. It's my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the National Youth Council of Macedonia on the conference Roadmap for Youth Priorities. This conference is organized by NYCM in partnership with its member organization, Youth Educational Forum and Young European Federalist Macedonia. The Berlin process is from an essential importance for our region, aimed to enhance our process for EU integration and to broaden our EU perspectives. The Berlin process presents joint commitment of the Western Balkan governments to join their forces and improve the life of their citizens with the help of EU. Starting from 2015, each consecutive year, the Western Balkans governments and countries gather in several EU countries to reaffirm their commitment and willingness to improve their societies. On these summits that have already been taking part in Austria, in Germany, in Berlin, in Paris, and now in Trieste, has also space for youth organization and civil society, where they discuss on the margins of these summits and they present their recommendations. Young people have been highlighted as one of the key elements, and their needs have been streamlined through the actions of the countries. A good example of this is the establishment of the Regional Youth Cooperation Office of the Western Balkans, aimed to strengthen the youth cooperation in the region and to bring youth participation in the decision-making process on a greater level. Just a few days ago, the EU Western Balkans Summit in Trieste took place, where as a product of this summit, there's a joint declaration. And in one part of the declaration is stated that all Balkan countries agreed on the need to renew the political engagement, to make sure that each of the Western Balkan partners make irreversible steps forward in the European path, and that democratization, stabilization, and association efforts are not put on hold due to the internal divisions or to external influences. This is just one part of the declaration that is highlighting the importance of all the improvements that our societies need to do. Since this declaration creates a lot of homework for the Western Balkan countries, we have invited today various stakeholders to discuss how their agendas fit into this declaration, and more importantly, to discuss how we as young people and youth organization can contribute to that. Additionally, participants of the summit in Trieste will provide an overview of the recommendations made during the youth conference and the civil society forum and how we can implement that. So if you go through the agendas, you can see that we have two panels consisting of different representatives. And on the first panel, we have the two ambassadors of Germany and France, and we have the director of the Agency of Youth and Sport and the president of the National Youth Council of Macedonia. And now I would invite His Excellency Mr. Christian Timonier to address.
Yes. Mr. President, chers collègues, liebe Kollegin, dear colleague, I am very happy to be here because we are within a process. And this process is now step by step building a new house, I hope, a house shared by young people in whole the Balkan area. What happened in Trieste was important because it is the idea that there is no contradiction between rebuilding channels, bridges between the nations on their final integration into the European Union. And for that, youth is of utmost importance. And it's not just to say that young people are the future and so, but it's a fact that we have to work, to really work on it. Because there was once upon a time a Yugoslavian space with one language, on the circulation of ideas, confrontations, which sometimes ended tragically. But there was a sort of lingua franca, shared history, shared bad or good memories. And now, after the end of Yugoslavia, there is the necessity to recreate understanding and not to live on the stereotypes of war. So there is really something positive to add and to create, and this is a challenge for the generation of the youth in Balkans. This is my opinion. The idea is that we have to help, because it's not to recreate something in the same space, but something open to the rest of Europe, working with the other young Europeans on something which is definitely open to the world. This is the message that Europe is still able to give. And I am very happy to be here with my German colleague, because it's basically what we have tried to do and what our fathers have tried to do, and to create a success story of today, shared ideals and shared endeavor toward a better future. And in this space, which was an intense space of rivalry between our countries, now this is a space in which we go hand in hand for a better future. And that will exist only if you are there, because the project will come from you, the ideas will come from you, from your personal initiatives. And re-empower the society is one of the important, I think, challenges, because it's not just recreating something in one space, but with actors. And this is the first time, perhaps, that young people, youth, will have the possibility to create a full democratic space. And this is not already a success story. It will have to be built, because in such competition today, with a time in which individual itineraries tend to prevail on collective aims, in this difficult time of competition, the idea is that youth organization creating togetherness within the countries, but with the other countries, these youth organizations have a real important role to play within this constellation called the civil society, in which there are so many things. So I just wanted to say that here with the French Institute, we are working every day to try to connect you with France, to connect you with Europe. And modestly, at our place, we shall try to give our positive contribution to RAICO, and never forgetting to work with our German and other European friends. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for highlighting the importance of youth participation, as well as the commitment of France throughout the embassy and the French Institute in contributing to improvement to our society. And now I will like to invite Her Excellency, Ms. Christine D. Althauser, to address us.
Thank you, and welcome from my side to everybody. There are too many presidents, so I skip that and just hello, friends and partners and colleagues, and cher Christian. Many thanks for the invitation. So it's really one of my very last events I'm going to have here in Skopje, and it's really touching youth event, because I can, of course, subscribe to any word said by you, Christian, by you, concerning the Berlin process, concerning our collaboration. I can only subscribe to that. So RAICO was always very, very near to my heart, to your heart, and I'm very happy to see that it was RAICO was established last year, and this year it's finally, hopefully it's going to work. That's a big step forward, and I would like to remind you that's your work. And I think that this panel discussion today is going a little bit beyond Raiko. It's about youth engagement. And if I may, a kind of legacy, I would like to give you, to speak out 3 recommendations. So the first and foremost is, please stay engaged. Yeah. Stay interested. You got a lot. There's a huge change in the air. It's a little bit in the air, and it has to be implemented. So it's just halfway. So the other half of the way is still needing your help, your ongoing help, and your interest, and your commitment, and engagement. And you know better than everybody what you got within the last 2-3 years. So, yeah, yeah. It's your country, it's your responsibility, and the country needs you. So I'm full of admiration of what you have done. I witnessed all the demonstrations, manifestations, a lot of change, but it's only half of the work done. There's on many areas, many ambitious plans, so 369 and so on. On Trieste, some of you, I do know, are very happy having being there, participated there, so I can't add that much to that point. But I do hope Raiko as well, as part of the Berlin process, is properly funded. So last week we had the Minister of State here in town, and I was happy to hear that he was touching on the point Raiko quite often, underlining that it's fine, but financial support has to be given in a proper way. And up to now that's maybe, but perhaps you have new use, it's not enough. So the idea is brilliant, but there has to be substance as well. The second point I want to make, your engagement. There is other engagement by politicians and parliament. There's a lot of talk nowadays, or these days, about inclusiveness into parliament. Many civil society representatives now being part of the government, or being councillor in some way connected to the government. It's a big step forward, but also that's only halfway. So the success is not granted. So your interaction together with these people is needed. A third point I would like to make on youth policy. The unemployment rate is still scaring. So we know about the brain drain from this country that has to be stopped. So reform, and as you know, 369 is a very ambitious big plan, is also touching economic questions. So without improvement in the economic sphere, without the possibility for young people to get a proper job after studying or after some education. So again, that's only halfway. So stay nasty, stay engaged, and ask for your rights. It's your country, it's your possibility. I wish you good luck in doing so. Moving a little bit to the other side of the world, so to say, to China, but I will have a close look on what is happening here, and surely coming back. So thank you very much for your friendship, your collaboration. It was always very good to be together with you, very good and intense discussions. I learned a lot. Thanks to all of you. Merci.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for highlighting a lot of things, including youth participation and youth employment, which are, in fact, huge priorities to all youth organizations here. Before we continue with Mr. Kaevski, your ambassador, you wanted to leave now, I guess? Yeah. So unfortunately, the ambassador must leave to another event, so we thank him for his for coming here, for supporting us, and for his address. So now we can continue with our two panelists remaining on the first panel. Next is Mr. Darko Kaevski, currently Director of the Agency for Youth and Sport.
Thank you. Dear youth organization, ambassadors, media representatives, I really appreciate the invitation for this discussion because it's always a pleasure to talk about youth policies and the ways how to deal with youth issues. In my discussion, I'm going to focus on the Regional Youth Cooperation Office in Macedonia, the cooperation between Agency for Youth and Sport and youth organizations and recommendations from Youth Forum from Trieste. During the Youth Forum in Trieste, I have had a chance to speak with Juro Blanuša, Secretary General of RICO. He has a great understanding for situation in Macedonia, but we should act now, with intention to be involved in the RICO projects which are going to start in September. We are all informed about the irregularities that happened during the selection for representative in the Executive Board of RICO from Macedonia. We did not have transparency and regular procedure. Also, according to the insight in the public information that has been made by representatives of National Youth Council, we can confirm that the last leadership of Agency for Youth and Sport was a part and main organizer for this process. For example, there are many situations where inactive youth organizations participate in the working group for the choice of representatives for RICO in Macedonia. Some youth organizations did not make any activity of their description is so short and general. Also, we can see youth organizations that do not have publicity in their work. As I mentioned on the start, RICO's activity are going to start in September, so we have to make right, responsible decisions. That means that we need revision for the process of election of youth representative in the Executive Board of RICO Macedonia. Also, we are looking for chance this position to be executed temporarily, just to be sure that Macedonia will not be forgotten in RICO projects. Surely, after all of this, we can organize new process for election of youth representative in the Executive Board of RICO. The second part of my discussion will be about cooperation between Agency of Youth and Sport and youth organization. One of the first meetings that I have had as a new director was with the youth organization. We all agreed to have regular communication on a monthly level. We will create the order of the meeting together so we can be more effective in our job. Also, I offered an opportunity for youth organization. I suggest the sector of youth in the agency should be managed by a person from youth organization, a person who is involved in youth policies and who really knows how to support this sector. I'm waiting for your response. I have heard that in the second part of this event you are going to talk about the youth policies. You will talk about the Youth Forum in Trieste, but I would like to share briefly some information with you. On the Youth Forum and also on the summit, we received great support from all sides. All stakeholders are informed about the situation in Macedonia, and they are having patience for real results. Some of the recommendations are mobility for youth, inclusion, participation, and entrepreneurship for youth. I know this sounds so general, but you should not disturb yourselves. You can see the Agency for Youth and Sport is open for cooperation, and we want to build bridges between agency and young people, bridges for decreasing the youth unemployment and raising the youth standard. Thank you for National Youth Council, Youth Educational Forum, and Youth European Federalists for invitation for this debate. Formally, I am Director of Agency for Youth and Sport, but I want to be seen as your friend who is always here for hearing you and finding solutions for your problems. We are young people, and we have that possibility to modify the way of communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaevski, for going deeper into the RICO process in Macedonia. So all of you on your seats had some documents there. They are only now in Macedonia. So this is a draft report that the working group for RICO in National Youth Council Macedonia created based on the information and documents that we were able now to obtain from the Agency of Youth and Sport, and they're related to all the process of electing a youth representative into the governing board for RICO. And based on this evidence and facts, we are happy to hear that the agency and the director is taking into consideration our findings, and that we are looking forward to jointly to help to have a good process. Now our next speaker will be Mr. Blazhen Maleski, President of the National Youth Council of Macedonia, the largest representative body of youth here.
Thank you, Martin, for the introduction. Dear audience, dear Excellency Miss Althauser, and dear Director of Youth and Sports Agency of Macedonia, let me begin with a big thank you for taking the time to actually participate in this conference. I think it's very important to show signs that Macedonian youth is still very important on the national level, but also internationally. And I would also like to thank the people who actually made this possible, the Secretariat of the National Youth Council, the Youth Educational Forum, and the European Federalists Macedonia. Young European Federalists Macedonia, sorry. So I would start with the priorities that we as a National Youth Council have, which were published a few months ago when the new government was formed. I will bring this later on a little bit into the context of what happened in Trieste and one of the speeches that were made in Trieste, so that we can all fully understand what the context in Macedonia is, but also maybe in the region. One of the first priorities that we have as a National Youth Council is that the state agencies fully understand and appreciate the work of the National Youth Council, take the information that we offer into consideration and see as a partner. This is very important because during the past years we had situations where youth organizations and civil society organizations were seen as a foe, not as a friend. This has to change if we want to have real progress and real change in the country. Second thing is having a budget for the National Youth Council. This is a priority because everywhere else in Europe and in the region, we have a special budget for the National Youth Councils that they can fully operate and help actually government agencies to bring together young people and offer the best opinion that we can actually find. The third one is revidation. I don't know if this is an English word, but it's creating a new process for the National Strategy of Youth, which was made a few years ago, 2 years ago, and basically nothing happened in the 2 years. We have to open up the process again and see what the new priorities are, because a lot of the things have changed, and to have actually a sustainable strategy that is possibly implementable, because otherwise we will have just another strategy that is not working for young people. The fourth one is more openness in the Agency of Youth and Sports, which we already have. Open talks with youth NGOs and with us as the National Youth Council, and this is one of the priorities that is a must. We have to have an open door policy in our state institutions. The fifth one is structural consultation with the National Youth Council on things that are happening concerning youth. This is also very important and connected with other topics. And the last one is the renewed and reopened process for the national representative in the RICO governing board, which we also have findings that you already saw in our report, which is the first draft. So these are our six priorities that we have as a National Youth Council. And now I'm coming to the context and telling you how I have this all in my head and connected. So there's a lot of talk about the Trieste summit, which happened 1 week ago or a few days ago. Sadly, I was not able to participate in any of the events that happened during the Trieste summit. But the good part is that thanks to technology, I had the opportunity to get at least a glimpse on what was happening in Trieste and see what was talked. On one of the sessions, the Commissioner for European Neighborhood Policy and Enlargement answered a question on why the Berlin and all other processes have brought no real change for the common people. He didn't answer it directly, of course, as a true politician, but I found the answer very, very fascinating because it's very true, at least for Macedonia. The answer resembled what many people, experts and academics have previously noted, namely, the real change is how to implement the recommendations and reforms from the European Union. I think this is the task of everybody. I have the feeling that today the society is split in two parts, the politicians and the civil society. Sorry. If you want to make progress, and if you all want to make progress, all of us have to think about how we can contribute in order to change the things. Now, as I said, I don't know if this is true in other countries of the region, but for Macedonia, this is decisively true. And we have many examples as civil society that show actually this split between politicians and civil society. But one of the real and most actual examples is the Darko process in Macedonia. First, we had a national representative who was elected directly as a politician, but should be from the civil society. Then afterwards, we have a process that we now see as highly questionable and without any legal procedures or and so on and so on. And this is actually the split we can see in society. And this, if we don't want, if we want to have a change in our mindset and in our society, this has to change. This split has to be either melted or built new bridges to find the connections between civil society and the politicians. So, yeah, as I said, the first draft shows that, or this case shows that there is a split between politicians and civil society. And on the one hand, we have politicians that make the decisions by themselves and without any regard to legal procedures, which you can see in our report, on critical issues, without any real or sufficient consultations with the civil society. And these examples that we all have civil society have to be corrected in the shortest period of time. Not because of political revenge, as some people may see this, especially the political party that is now in opposition, no, but in order to show that laws and norms are in place for everybody and must be respected in the future. Without this, we cannot have any real change and we cannot have a future in this country. Norms and laws are for everybody. And as the young people are the future of this country, and the future of young people lays in the hands of the institutions of this country, we together have to find the right methods and practices in order to bring the ideas, fears, and hopes of young people to the policy table. We, as a National Youth Council of Macedonia, are strong believers that one of the methods for this is a full cooperation between state institutions and civil society, having an open door policy, having funds for civil society, working together on major policies, and not blocking the civil society in parts where they are needed. So in these times where the national institutions are recovering from a period of vast distrust towards the civil society, and civil society is still adapting to the new situation in the country, let us give the young people the support that they need and bring them to the discussion table. Let us bring them a positive change in policies and a change in society that will help young people to create and influence their future in this country. So that was basically my speech, but before I end, I would like to give a small thank you to Her Excellency Althauser and to the cultural attaché, Frau Helga Teipe, because we know that you're leaving and we want to thank you for your great work in the democratization of Macedonia, and we want to show our respect for your work here.
Thank you, Blazhen, for your speech and for we all of us thanking Her Excellency and the German Embassy for their continuous commitment for helping and improving our society. So now I will open the the phase for questions. So if any one of you feels free to ask a question, the guests are here to answer. Anyone? Well, we were so clear then. No questions? So okay, since we don't have, we were so clear and everybody feeling satisfied with the with our statements. So now we can close the first panel and invite you for a short coffee break, and then we continue with the second panel, which will be more focused on what was really working and what are the outcomes of the Trieste summit, and what do we as young people expect and to be done in our society in order to reach these recommendations. Thank you.